Some people run for fitness, others run for fun, but Gary McKee? He ran for a cause, and he didn't stop. This is the incredible story of a man who laced up his shoes every single day, rain or shine, pain or peace, and ran a marathon a day for an entire year. That's 26.2 miles, 365 times, totaling nearly 10,000 miles, the equivalent of running from London to Australia. And why? Not for glory, not for a medal, but to raise money for cancer charities that changed his life. Gary McKee wasn't just running, he was fighting. Fighting for families, for hope, for people who couldn't run. This isn't just a running story. This is a story of relentless determination, selfless commitment, and what happens when one man decides he's not waiting for change. He's going to run straight toward it. So the question is, how far would you go to make a difference? Gary McKee already answered that, and then some. A promise made in pain, the why behind the challenge. Gary McKee's journey didn't begin with running, it began with loss. His father had battled cancer, and watching him go through it left a lasting scar. Like many people who've seen a loved one suffer, Gary felt helpless. But instead of letting that pain harden him, he turned it into purpose. He promised to do something big, something bold, something that would make people notice. Cancer takes so much from people: health, time, even dignity. Gary wanted to give something back, so he made a decision that would shake the world. Run a marathon every day for 365 days to raise money for Macmillan Cancer Support and Hospice at home West Cumbria. He didn't wait for the perfect conditions. He didn't wait until he had a sponsor. He just started running. Because when you run with purpose, every step becomes powerful. That's what made Gary's story different. He wasn't running away from anything. He was running towards something. The physical toll, a battle with the body. Running a single marathon is a challenge for most people. It takes months of training, recovery, and mental grit. Now imagine doing that every day without a break. That's what Gary McKee put his body through for an entire year. The toll was immense. Blisters, swollen joints, muscle tears. He experienced it all. His feet bled, his legs ached. Some mornings, he could barely stand up, but the man still ran. He faced harsh weather, scorching heat in the summer, freezing temperatures in the winter. There were days he was ill, days when exhaustion crushed him before he even laced his shoes. But he kept going. How? Because pain wasn't his enemy, it was his companion. And when your cause is bigger than your comfort, your threshold for pain becomes almost limitless. What most of us would see as a breaking point, Gary saw as a checkpoint. He knew every mile was raising awareness, inspiring people, and saving lives. And that's a finish line worth crawling toward, if you have to. Think about it. Could you do anything every single day for a year? Most of us can't even stick to a diet or work out for a month. But Gary stuck to a marathon every single day. That's a mindset worth understanding. The mental challenge, more than just muscles. As intense as the physical battle was, Gary often said the mental part was even harder. Running a marathon daily isn't just about endurance, it's about fighting your own thoughts. Every morning, Gary had to silence that little voice in his head saying, "Not today. Take a break. You've done enough." He had to push through boredom, doubt, and the loneliness of the road. Even the most motivated person would struggle to stay consistent for that long. But Gary mastered the art of mental discipline. He developed a routine, surrounded himself with supportive people, and kept his goal front and center. He visualized not just the finish line of each run, but the lives being touched by his cause. On dark mornings, he'd remember the names of those affected by cancer. That kept his feet moving, because in Gary's world, quitting wasn't an option. The fight against cancer doesn't take a day off, so neither would he. Community support, one man, thousands behind him. Gary might have run every mile with his own two legs, but he was never alone. His challenge inspired an entire community. People started joining him on his runs, some for a few miles, others for the full 26.2. Strangers became training partners. Local businesses sponsored him, cheered him on, and even adjusted their hours to accommodate his marathon schedule. Schools invited him to speak. News outlets covered his journey. Suddenly, it wasn't just Gary's mission, it was everyone's. Even drivers passing by would honk and wave. Families affected by cancer sent him messages of hope and thanks. Donations began pouring in, small ones, big ones from around the world. That kind of support doesn't just lift your spirits, it fuels your soul. Gary's mission became a symbol. He showed people that one man can make a difference and that when we come together, there's no limit to what we can achieve. His feet carried him, but the community carried his heart. Let's take a second to ask ourselves something real. What would happen if your passion met your persistence? What could you build, break through, or create if you just kept going, no matter what? The sacrifices no one sees. It's easy to romanticize Gary's story, the headlines, the applause, the finish lines. But behind the scenes, the sacrifice was massive. He had to balance work, family, rest, and recovery, all while pounding pavement for hours a day. He missed events, he lost sleep, he rearranged his entire life around a singular mission. His family supported him, but they too had to adjust to his marathon lifestyle. Every day revolved around the run, what he ate, how much he slept, even how he planned his holidays. There were no shortcuts, no skipping a day. No, I'll catch up tomorrow. And that kind of consistency, it demands everything. It's not just about discipline, it's about surrender. Gary surrendered his comfort, his convenience, and a whole year of his life for a cause greater than himself. That's the part people don't always see, the quiet moments of pain, the sacrifices made when no one's watching. But that's where real greatness lives. A year later, still standing. December 31st, day 365. After nearly 10,000 miles, Gary McKee set out for one final marathon. The streets were lined with supporters, friends, family, fans, media, people who had followed every step of his journey, waiting to see him cross the final finish line. And when he did, it was electric. There were tears, cheers, hugs, and smiles. But more than that, there was an impact. By the end of the challenge, Gary had raised over £1 million for cancer support charities. That's not just a number, that's real help for real people. Equipment for hospices, support for families, comfort for patients, all because one man decided to run. It wasn't just the end of a challenge, it was the start of a legacy. Gary proved that when you commit with your whole heart, when you take consistent action with no excuses, the world takes notice and lives are changed forever. Imagine the power of a single decision. Gary decided to run. What will you decide to do today that could change someone's life, even your own? What we can learn from Gary McKee. Gary's story isn't about running, it's about resilience. It's about showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. It's about making daily choices that align with your purpose, no matter how small they seem. Whether you're chasing a fitness goal, starting a business, or fighting your own internal battles, Gary's journey shows us that progress doesn't come from occasional effort. It comes from daily dedication. He also reminds us of the importance of having a why. Purpose fuels persistence. Without his deep commitment to the cancer community, he could have quit at any point. But that purpose was bigger than the pain. And maybe that's the message for all of us. Find your why, make your move, stay the course. Whether you're walking, running, or crawling, just don't stop, because the world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more people willing to try, fail, and keep going anyway. How one man inspired thousands. One man, 1 year, one decision. The ripple effect of Gary McKee's mission is still being felt. After his journey, more people began taking up daily challenges. Others started fundraising campaigns. Cancer patients and their families felt seen, supported, and encouraged. He didn't just raise money, he raised hope. That's the thing about action, it spreads. Gary didn't need a massive platform. He didn't wait to be famous. He just laced up, stepped outside, and ran, again and again. And with each step, he inspired a movement. He became a reminder that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they believe in something beyond themselves. His story lives on not just in the miles, but in the lives he touched. And now, you've heard it too. The baton's been passed. The question is, what will you do with it? If this story moved you even a little, don't let it end here. Hit the like button, subscribe for more powerful true stories, and share this with someone who needs a reminder of what persistence looks like. And tell us in the comments, what's your marathon? Because everyone's running from something, but the brave ones, they run towards something greater.